The generator sputtered, its mechanical cough echoing through the dimly lit room. Its rhythmic hum filled the small room, a constant reminder of their fragile existence. Efosa barely noticed, her mind elsewhere. She clutched her broken phone, the lifeline to a world that seemed increasingly out of reach. The cracked screen reflected the worry in her eyes, a mirror to her fractured hopes. Her brother Osas lay asleep on the floor, his body a fragile shell of its former self. His chest, usually rising and falling with an easy rhythm, barely moved, each breath a struggle. He was burning with fever, his skin hot to the touch, his body fighting a battle it was losing. The clinic demanded 50,000 naira, a sum that seemed insurmountable. They wouldn't even look at Osas without it, their faces cold and unyielding. Efosa's stomach churned with a mixture of fear and anger. 50,000 naira. It was a cruel joke. It might as well have been a million, an impossible dream in their harsh reality. She thought about the debtors who came to their door, their threats a constant shadow over their lives, the ones who harassed their mother, Mama, with relentless demands. They demanded money Mama didn't have, their voices harsh and unforgiving, money she had borrowed to keep a roof over their heads, to keep Osas alive, to keep hope alive. Now, her brother's life hung by a thread, each moment a precarious balance between life and death.
Whispering, "Osas, hang in there, please hang in there."
The air hung heavy, thick with the weight of unspoken fears and unfulfilled dreams. It was thick with the smell of sweat, sickness and desperation, a cocktail of human suffering. Lagos never slept. Not really. The city was a living, breathing entity, always in motion. Even now she could hear the distant roar of Okadas weaving through the night, their engines a constant hum. Each sound, each smell seemed to press in on her, suffocating her. Her chest tightened. Tears threatened to spill, but she held them back. She wouldn't cry. Not now. Crying wouldn't save Osas. Only action could. Only money could do that. Money they didn't have, but desperately needed. But where could she find that kind of money? Where could she find a miracle in this sea of despair? Where could she find hope in this darkness? The weight of night pressed down on her, but she refused to be crushed. Mama sat on the edge of Osas's mattress, her heart heavy with worry and fatigue. Her face was etched with exhaustion, the kind that comes from sleepless nights and endless days of worry. Worry had carved deep lines into her skin, each one telling a story of fear and uncertainty. Lines that spoke of sleepless nights spent by her child's bedside and endless struggles to find a way out of their dire situation. Mama, who always tried to be strong for her family, finally let the tears fall, unable to hold back the flood of emotions any longer. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs, each one a testament to the overwhelming burden she carried. The weight of their situation was finally too much to bear, crushing them under its relentless pressure.
"Mama, it will be all right. We will find a way. We have to believe that things will get better."
Even as she spoke, the words felt hollow, a desperate attempt to cling to hope in the face of despair. Empty promises in the face of impossible odds, a fragile shield against the harsh reality they faced. Their small room, usually alive with Osas's laughter and their mother's humming, was shrouded in a heavy silence. The silence of despair, the silence of defeat. It was a silence that spoke volumes, louder than any words could. It pressed down on them, threatening to consume them entirely, leaving them gasping for hope. Efosa looked at her brother, her heart aching with worry. His face, normally lit with a mischievous grin, was pale and drawn, a shadow of his former self. His breaths were shallow gasps, each one a struggle, each one a reminder of the fragility of life. Every struggling breath was a painful reminder of their helplessness, a stark contrast to the vibrant life he once had. Mama finally spoke, her voice raspy.
"I called Ejiro."
"Ejiro?"
The name hung in the air like a curse. Everyone in Lagos knew Ejiro. He was a fixer, a man who could make things happen, for a price, a steep price. Rumors swirled around him like smoke, rumors of violence, of shady deals, of people who crossed him and were never seen again.
"Mama, you can't be serious. He's dangerous. Everyone knows it."
Mama's eyes, red-rimmed and filled with a desperate hope, met Efosa's.
"What choice do we have? We have nothing left. No one else will help us."
Fear coiled in Efosa's stomach, cold and tight. She knew her mother was right. They were out of options. Desperation had a way of making you do things you never thought possible.
What did he say?
He wants to see you tonight at the warehouse in Apapa.
You can't go.
Gloria's voice, usually bright and full of laughter, was low and urgent. They huddled in the cramped space behind Mama Bisi's food stall, hidden from view. Efosa's heart pounded against her ribs.
I have to, Gloria. There's no other way.
Efosa, listen to me. Ejiro is bad news. He's trouble. Everyone knows it. Please don't do this.
Gloria's words washed over Efosa, each one a plea for reason. But reason had no place here. Not when Osas's life hung in the balance.
I have to try. Osas needs me.
But what if...
I'll be careful, I promise.
But even as she said the words, she knew they were empty. There was no such thing as being careful when dealing with someone like Ejiro. The warehouse loomed before her, a dark monolith against the inky sky. It was a place of shadows and whispers. The air around it felt heavy, oppressive. Even the rats scurrying in the gutters seemed to avoid it. Efosa's hand trembled as she reached for the rusty metal door. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the silence. Taking a deep breath, she pushed the door open. The interior was dark, lit only by a single flickering bulb. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and something else, something metallic and vaguely sinister. The silence was absolute, broken only by the sound of her own breathing and the distant drip of water.
You're late.
The voice, deep and gravelly, seemed to come out of the shadows themselves. Efosa jumped, her heart leaping into her throat.
You want something from me?
It wasn't a question.
My brother, he's sick. The clinic won't help him without money. 50,000 naira.
50,000 naira is a lot of money. What makes you think you can get that kind of money from me?
I'll do anything. Yes, S2, anything. What's in the package?
That's not your concern. You deliver the package, you get the money, you save your brother. Simple.
But Efosa knew it wasn't simple. Nothing about this was simple. Her instinct screamed at her to run, to get as far away from this place, from this man as possible. But the image of Osas, his face pale and drawn, anchored her. She had no choice.
Where does it go? Who do I deliver it to?
Ejiro named a location. A club in the heart of Lagos Island, a place known for its high rollers, its shady clientele, and its dangerous underbelly. Fear coiled in Efosa's stomach like a venomous snake. This was madness. But it was madness born of desperation.
Don't be late, and don't try anything stupid. You wouldn't want to disappoint me.
May God protect you, my daughter.
Efosa held her mother close, the weight of her mother's fear a tangible thing.
It will be all right, Mama. Osas will be all right.
But even as she spoke, doubt gnawed at her. She had just made a deal with the devil himself, and she knew deep down that the price of her brother's life might be higher than she could ever imagine. Leaving her mother clutching her rosary, Efosa stepped out into the pre-dawn light. The air was thick with the promise of another sweltering Lagos day, but for Efosa, the world had shifted on its axis. She was no longer just a dutiful daughter, a loving sister. She was a pawn in a dangerous game, a game she didn't understand, but one she was now irrevocably a part of. The first rays of sun painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, casting a serene glow over the bustling city of Lagos. A new day was dawning, bringing with it the promise of new beginnings and untold stories. But for Efosa, it felt like the beginning of a long, dark night. Her heart was heavy with the weight of uncertainty. She clutched the package Ejiro had given her, its contents a mystery that gnawed at her curiosity and fear. It was surprisingly heavy, its contents unknown, adding to the burden she already felt. As she walked towards the bus stop, the weight of what she was about to do pressed down on her. Fear warred with determination, each step a battle. Doubt whispered in her ear, questioning her every move and decision. But one thing was clear in her mind, a beacon of clarity amidst the chaos. There was no turning back. The path she had chosen was set, and she had to see it through. She had made a promise to her brother, a vow that she intended to keep no matter the cost, and she would do whatever it took to keep it, her resolve hardening with each passing moment. The bus rumbled to life, its engine a roar in the morning quiet, signaling the start of her journey. Efosa climbed aboard, her hand trembling as she clutched the package, the weight of her mission pressing down on her. As the bus pulled away, she took one last look at the familiar streets of her neighborhood, knowing that life, as she knew it, had changed forever. The faces, the places, everything seemed to blur into a distant memory. The journey had just begun, and with it, a new chapter in her life was unfolding, filled with unknown challenges and uncharted paths.